iPhone accessibility, VoiceOver help resources.
In this, which is the last of this series of videos on using VoiceOver on the iPhone, I'm just going to point you towards some ways that you can find out more about the VoiceOver use. I've touched on the most basic gestures, but there's plenty that I haven't touched upon, so I'm just going to go through a couple of things. The first one is a gesture that you can do, which is a 4-finger double tap, and once VoiceOver is going, that takes you into a help feature.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub, or press escape on the keyboard.
And what happens now is I can do gestures on the screen. They won't do anything except if they are valid VoiceOver gestures, VoiceOver will tell me, and if they're not, I won't hear anything. So I'm going to do a flick right now.
Flick right. Move to next item.
If I flick right with 2 fingers, there's nothing said because it doesn't do anything. If I flick right with 3 fingers...
3-finger flick right. Scroll left 1 page.
So this is a great way to explore what's available. If I just come out of that now with a 4-finger double tap again.
4-finger double tap. Toggle VoiceOver help. Stopping help.
If you don't want to explore, I'm just going to play around with it. Another way that you can find out is by going to the manual. There's a couple of ways you can get to the manual. The first way is to go through Safari.
Safari. Address. Search or enter website name.
And the easiest way to do this is if you search for
address, search or enter website name,
iOS VoiceOver. So
I-O-D-D-S delete D-K-K-D-S-S space J-B-V-O-O-B-V-C-R-E-E-E-R-E-E-R go address 10% Google link.
And once that page is loaded, you go down to the first heading.
Google image map shop book flat search tool vision accessibility iPhone Apple UK heading level 3 visited
And double tap.
Vision accessibility iPhone Apple UK heading level 3 open menu.
And this is the official Apple page on accessibility on the iPhone. There is an area on here called resources. It's a heading, but I'm going to use the item chooser to get to it.
Item chooser 100 search field R E E D S S O resources 2 resources heading level 2.
And then if I flick right from that, there's a couple of things under user guides.
Learn more user guides iPhone user guide tagged HTML learn more with the iPhone user guide iBooks open the iPhone user guide.
Basically there's 2 versions of the user guide. The first is a tagged HTML, which means it's a web page, and that's updated very quickly, but you do need to be online to get access to it. And the second thing then is an iBook version, the iPhone user guide, and that is one that you can download to your device. It still gets updated pretty regularly, but the benefit of it is that you've got it there even if you don't have an internet connection. So those are 2 ways that you can get to the iBooks one. Of course, you can get to through the iBooks app on the phone. You don't need to come into Safari. But while we're in Safari, I just wanted to show you one other website which is very handy. If I just go
address Apple Inc. clear text
and that's to go to appleviz.com.
A-A-P-P-T-L-L-I-E-V-V-I-I-S period V-C-C-O-O-M-M delete go open menu link global navigation skip to main content.
AppleViz is a community website, so it's built by and for blind and low vision Apple users. Note it's Apple, so it covers more than just iOS, but there's a wealth of information in here. There's recommendations on apps to get, there's information on whether apps are accessible or not, there's kind of user guides, great amount of stuff in there. You could spend a long time finding out stuff from there. So those are just a few resources that you might find useful for finding out more about VoiceOver, and I hope you find those useful. Thanks.